Thank you for your introductions. I just, I
We
can't
must
tell you
have
how
more.
amazing it is that you're all here that we're getting together with people who are in Orleans. I just, I know we'll talk more, and there's more people for me to hear, like, to be introduced from. But I wanted to say, I mean, I hope just remind me to get into story about how I was told not to publish because the community would destroy me. Um, so we can get it more into that story later. But but the fact is that they haven't destroyed me and I'm still here and I still have my house and people from Orleans are finding out about what's going on there. So yeah, it's really exciting.
Snow Library. What'd you
Oh,
say?
yeah.
Her book is at Snow Library.
Oh,
Mm,
very nice.
nice.
Well, and it's on Amazon. That's good news too.
Ah.
Beth, I missed one. My daughter's sitting over way, way over there. She's Casey, and I've gotten her listening to all the podcasts, and she's
Nice.
pretty darn excited about what's going on.
Awesome. Hi, Casey.
Hi. Pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah. Well, I guess well maybe I should say that story before I forget it. Do you mind if I jump in there? Um so like I had it's very hard to publish a book, especially when you're not known and you're not famous. And I'd finally found a publisher and we'd done all the edits and we were just getting to like the last leg of publishing when I was getting afraid of the legal issues and because we were with the fine tooth comb checking all the facts and everything and I got an email or a phone call from the lead lawyer of our lawsuit in Canada and she basically said, Beth, I don't think you should publish it as is. I think you should change it to a fiction story and all the names because the community of Jesus is so litigious. And she cited two um, historic suits where they destroyed people who had said something on social media about them, but nothing big, but they had destroyed their lives. And what cults like do is they will sue you even if they're going to lose, and you get so afraid because you can't defend yourself, you can't afford it, that you pull the book, you pull whatever it is, you know? And I was so upset because I'd worked like up to there. It had been like 3 years of my life working on this. And I knew it wasn't just my story. So I was determined. I couldn't change I did not want to change the names and I did not want to make it fiction because what else is the point of writing it? So the Canadian lawyer said, "Look, I will see if I can find a defamation lawyer that you can speak with." And I went, I paid this defamation lawyer. I sent her a bit of the background and I sent her just a synopsis of the book. And basically, like in 1 hour, that lawyer said, "You need to publish, you go for it. And here's what we'll do if they come after you." And we had a whole game plan put out, figured out. But basically, she said, "And I want to buy the book." So, but I've been so afraid, like from that was maybe 2 years ago. And, a year ago, the book came out and, I was so afraid of what the community might do. And now, fast forward, we've got, people are coming out of the woodwork, telling our stories on the podcast. And I'm not saying this is all because of my book. It's just so exciting how more and more stories are coming forward, and collectively, people are healing and getting the strength um, because of the more stories come out, the easier it is. And I'm just like kind of amazed at how this is all working out. And I'm so grateful to Rock Harbor Truth because they actually helped me have more courage. And uh, yeah, anyway, I just thought I'd throw that little tidbit there because the book almost didn't happen. So,
Haven't been sued yet.
hmm?
Haven't been sued yet.
I have not, no.
Ah,
And so, and I don't think that, I mean, I think that ship has sailed. I did talk to, last summer, I talked to Carol Murchison, who's the lawyer representing Oliver Ortolani in the recent lawsuit that was um, filed in the summer against the Community of Jesus. And she told me that I had nothing to fear because, especially as I was part of the winning lawsuit in Canada. So she said, "You're safer than bonds." So
Have you heard from the community at all since the book has been published?
no, I have not. Um,
Wow.
thank goodness, because I'm still scared of them. But I have no like it's funny because I didn't grow up there. As you know, I visited there often, but I've noticed that a lot of people who grew up there and had the courage to leave have ever since they left been too afraid to talk about it. Even social media groups where it's private, people just are we're terrorized basically and so afraid to talk about it, even even amongst ourselves. So I just think all of what's going on with this podcast, with Rock Harbor Truth, and with people like you coming forward to showing interest and showing compassion is incredibly healing for all of us survivors. So I think, are we ready for questions?
oh, you've got some questions? Go for it.
Oh, my question. Yeah, I was amazed that you could be in the situation you were in, or other people are in, and there was no, especially for children, there was no one from the outside coming in, no social workers, no Department of Children, whatever you call it. I mean, I don't know, the police, I don't understand how this could continue on. It was like, what do you call it? It's slavery.
Because it's a cult.
Yeah, I understand that. I know it's a cult, but it's right in the middle of a very civilized town where people are, it's not in a place where people, it's not a desert or something. A lot of people live there and a lot of smart people live there. And I just don't understand why the law didn't come in. I'm talking about police, FBI, whoever. See what is happening to the children. Forget even the adults. What happened to the children? It's almost like trafficking or something. I don't get it. That's the part I never can understand. Where was the outside world?
Where is the outside world?
Well, I don't know, but I'm even talking about in her experience.
Right.
What was your experience with outside people?
Well, and yeah, it's a really good question. But if people had come in, like children's services or whatever you call it, you know, the government of any kind, ministry, they would be lied to. Uh, it's plain and simple. Like even in 1993, there was a called the Chronicle, is that what it's called? Did a expose documentary on the community. Did you all see that? It's on YouTube, but um they did an interview with the existing mother Betty at the time, and she was asked those questions point blank directly, and she lied right to the camera that they never separated children from their parents. And they never interrogated children about their sins. And if she had ever been privy to that, she would have put a stop to it. So like I remember, I'll never forget seeing that, and I found it, you know, years later on YouTube. I nearly fell off my chair. They just cult leaders will lie to save face, and they would tell. And the other thing is they tell, like, if you were a member and you knew your leader was lying to the outside world, the leader tells the members that they must lie because the outside world isn't holy enough to understand the mission. So it's kind of like this twisted, like we're not lying for God. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know if that answers. It is a really good question, obviously. The other thing is parents visiting at Grenville were lied to whenever they had problems with their kid. They wanted answers. They didn't get the truth. Um, yeah, it's really insidious.
That's a,
Um, on that note about the parents, Beth, I was a little confused. It's called a college, but I assume it's really more of a prep school, high school age.
It
well,
actually is kindergarten through grade 12.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
the other part of that, there was something I read, and I can't remember if it was in your book or in one of the podcasts. Was it a school where parents sent kids who were troubled?
At first, that's what they sort of ended themselves like in the 70s, the early
Oh,
70s, and up to maybe close to the 80s. Uh, it was kind of geared more towards kids who were troubled, parents who needed to get their kids sorted out type thing. But they quickly changed track around 1980 and into the 90s, and it became known as a elite university preparatory school. And yeah,
why did it?
so
I mean, you said they lied to them, but wouldn't the parents, if they're visiting their children, wouldn't they be able to see this horrendous stuff going
um,
on?
yeah, so it's a real question because like you guys are so mystified by the fact you see what the community puts out, and it's by and large spectacular and excellent. And you see them marching down the streets or their performances, they're just amazing. And that's the kind of sh facade we had at our school. So if parents came to visit, they would not be privy to any of the light sessions, the disciplines, the the psychological abuse. And if they heard about it from their kid, they'd call in the school or they'd have a meeting with the Farnsworths or whoever was in charge. Um, and like I said, they'd be lied to. And then the student who complained would be not even more unsafe because they'd be in even worse trouble. Do you know what I mean? And it was like this whole sort of network of deceit, to make sure that it was a glowing fraud. And uh, we even had, like I mentioned in the, we even had the credit. The school had a ton of credibility because we had a board of advisors made up of people from the outside world who were convinced that the school was fantastic. And these were we had lieutenant governors of Ontario, three of them. We had senators, the Royal High Commissioner to Great Britain. We had the Bishop of Ontario, the Anglican bishop. All these members of society, high ups, um, were on our governing board. So that just lent even more credibility. But they didn't see what was happening behind closed doors. And I don't know if that helps to answer your question. The other thing is parents were, students, they weren't allowed to call their parents often. Like if they did call, they were often like the staff would stand next to them listening to what they're saying. There were only a few phones around. And letters that they wrote were read and critiqued before sending them out. Like it was very um, difficult for these kids to explain what was happening to their parents. Plus, there's all the added layer of the kids feeling like they're the wrong ones. And maybe if they tell their parents what kind of abuse they're receiving, it's even more embarrassing for the kid because what if the cult, they didn't know it was a cult? What if the leaders are right? Do you know what I mean? To be calling them all these things and to be treating them this way. So a lot of students have told me that they didn't tell their parents because it was just too embarrassing and difficult to explain. And they also didn't want their parents to feel bad because they'd spent all this money. So sometimes they would just say, look, I'm not happy there. Couldn't explain why, you know. Um, I don't know if
I
that's,
think I think a lot of people who should have been responsible shirk their duty. I really feel that, not you guys. I mean, people who came and visited or sat on the board or whatever. Give me a break.
yeah.
You can't be around children who are so, shut down and not think there's a problem, but
Yeah.
they're looking the other way. I really believe they did a terrible job in helping you. That's I'm talking about the outside. You
I,
see
I
that.
think I think though that the problem is that whenever they were there, they wouldn't see students who were shut down. They'd see shiny, happy students because that's what we were trained to look like. So they were completely impressed because here you're 400, imagine 400 teenagers who are all smiling, doing everything they're told and acting like
Creepy. That's
yeah, probably creepy, but really like we actually presented as like really engaged, happy students. Like this is why I think it's really important for people to like that in documentary called Shiny Happy People.
Yeah.
It's about the evangelical one branch of evangelical
The
fundamentalists
fundamental Mormons,
and
basically.
and they and those people, that's how they act, and that's how you're seeing the community often act, unless you work directly with one of them. They might tell you their problem if like Beverly was talking about on the cast when she was working with them, um about for physical therapy, but generally you're just going to hear the good. And if you ever go in there, they're going to wine and dine you and impress you and act like the best host you've ever seen. So it's really easy to imagine how these people didn't see it. You know what I mean? Like we tried to sue the Anglican Church because they really should, like you said, they should have been checking on how the school was run. They should have known that their Anglican priests were actually wackadoodle. But they did send in the bishop and they did send in other priests who were wined and dined, and we rolled out the red carpet for them. And I can see how they never would have noticed what was going on because they weren't privy to it. So, I don't know. It's a tricky thing.
So I have a question that's kind of brings this subject into nowadays. Is Sean on now? Is he on with Anne? I can't see who's on Zoom. Anne?
He was here briefly, and he's still on with IT.
Okay, so maybe
He wasn't sure where we were with things, but he did want to thank everybody for being here. He also wanted to make himself available if people want to talk to him directly, or have questions. He and Bonnie are the co-founders of Rock Harbor Truth, and doing incredible work. But this is about Beth and her book. But he did want to say thank you for your interest, for your support, for shining light. I love Bonnie's phrase, reclaiming the light, helping all of these people like Beth and Bonnie and Diane, and Jeannie's sister.
I have a question for you if he's not there because you're in on this about how people ignore what's going on. That was back then. Over Christmas, a sister ran away from the community several weeks ago.
Okay.
She went to the Orleans police. She ended up in Wellfleet. They ended up putting her in the hospital for a psych eval. The sisters from the community ended up coming and taking her back. Oh. But while she was there, she kept saying, they're making me take medicine I shouldn't be taking. Now, my understanding that nothing happened after she went, the sisters, and she's back in the community. So even today, why isn't somebody from the hospital getting some social workers over there, sending some help to this poor woman who's now back, was in fear for her life, ran away,
How old is she,
Can-
Joan?
In
She's
her
probably
mid to early 50s.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm gonna say something here.
Yeah. She grew up pretty much with Kate. I always want to say Shannon Kate Schumann, and she's a year or two younger. So Kate estimated she's probably around 53 or so.
yeah.
So in
I
that
I
respect,
knew her at Grenville. She was a student at Grenville too.
yeah. So nobody can make any decisions for her but her. Social work, I, she's an
Well,
adult,
Yeah.
but
Wow. There's
But she
more,
was
there's
cooking for
more
them,
that can be done, that's all I'm saying. I
Yeah,
know
she
there's
was-
more, I've worked in the system, I know there's more. I don't understand, is it because it's a religion and there's some protection because it's a special category, it's religion?
What do you think, Diane?
I think it's very likely she's lived with this for most of her life. She's been told for most of her life that she has a call.
Hmm.
That if she leaves that call, she leaves God. That, I mean, Kate said the other day she doesn't know anymore if God loves her or not. Um, it's a very real, very strong thing that's ingrained in her. So she has made one attempt to leave, and she may make a few more before she finally does. Or she may never leave because she's just so afraid that God won't love her anymore. Plus, outside of the community, all she has is her father and her mother, but she wouldn't talk to her mother. When she was at the hospital, she wouldn't talk to me. She wouldn't talk to Kate. Kate and I both went. Because that was also because she was off in another world entirely at that time. But
But I wonder if it's because they're making her take medicine she doesn't need.
I don't know.
Why
It's
wasn't
just
somebody following up on that?
if
Good question.
So
It's a
it's
good
happening.
and maybe she's not taking the medicine anymore. Maybe they took her off it. We don't know.
True.
I know Jeannie, Bonnie can answer some more questions too, but the only thing I want to add, Jeannie, is I have to liken it to a domestic violence situation, right? A woman ends up in the hospital, she's been beaten by her boyfriend, husband, whatever, and then she says, I forgive him. It's okay. He won't do it again. He loves me, and goes back. Now, what could social workers do? Nothing. She's choosing to go back to that situation, and she could ask him, are you hitting your wife? Well, no, we were both, she did it first, whatever. Like, I don't know how far that comparison goes, but that's what I have, because I think for those of us who haven't experienced what those who were in the community did, it's so hard to wrap our heads around how can this be happening, especially as moms? How can this be happening, to have your children taken from you and be okay with that and all of it. So I just wanted to add that one
Yeah.
perspective.
I think it's also really important to understand that if a social worker were to go into the community, there is, I can guarantee you in that situation, not one person that would tell them anything. Because if you do, there will be hell to pay. So even if you personally are having doubts or you're unhappy, you're I mean, you probably aren't even going to talk about it within the community because
Yeah.
that will land you in some big trouble. But what Beth was saying, like in Canada, about when people would come, what they would be shown is exactly what would happen at the Community of Jesus. We were groomed for how to present to the outside world, and we knew we would not speak to anyone. They didn't understand us. they weren't holy enough to understand. They were secular. They just wouldn't get it. That, along with knowing if you said anything, you were done for. It just
Yeah.
wouldn't happen. So I agree with you that where were these organizations that are supposed to be there protecting children? Where were they? Um, they did come in at one point, and you'll hear podcasts this coming week from Ruth Buddington that talks
Mhm.
about her experience of going and trying to get help. And the social worker came in and saw beautifully manicured lawns and pristine homes and beautifully dressed people and smiles and was like, there's nothing going wrong here.
Mhm. Yeah.
That your experience when DCF came in? I was in the convent, so I didn't have anything to do with any of it, but I have no doubt at all that that was exactly how it went.
Yeah.
There was no other way it could possibly have gone.
What is the relationship between Glenville and the community?
Now, or
Then
sorry.
or now?
Um, well, basically in 1973, Grenville was floundering, especially mostly financially, but the staff were getting disillusioned and um, there were all kinds of problems. And all the other Grenville was part of sort of a chain of schools around the world, and all the other schools were going bankrupt. So, in a last-ditch effort, the leaders of Grenville were looking out for guidance from other spiritual leaders, and they knew the mothers from years before. So they asked for help from the mothers, and the mothers came up during this time of kind of vulnerability. Um, and they led a retreat, and they were supposed to be there for 3 days. And within 2 weeks, they'd convinced all the staff that they had prophecy from right from God about how Grenville needed to be run, and how if staff were willing to submit to God's will, that the mothers would become basically their saving spiritual guidance. So, in essence, they became the directors of Grenville. In fact, they like on official papers that were filed with the I don't know, with the government, um, it names the mothers as directors of the school, even though they weren't there all the time. They only visited a few times a year to run retreats, and then we would go down. We Grenville people, Grenville staff and staff kids would go down to the community at least twice a year to get indoctrinated. Basically, we did retreats and also live in weeks there, and also if we were ever in rebellion or in deep sin, we'd be sent off to the community of Jesus to get further indoctrinated. So there were incredibly close ties. And what it's crazy now, like all the years that we went through the lawsuit, we named only Grenville as the perpetrators because we knew that we couldn't win against the community since it was a Canadian law. But the community distanced themselves. Like they have a lawyer, Jeff Robbins, who constantly says they had nothing to do with Grenville, and they just wash their hands of it, even though it's just, and that's so maddening because we all the staff at Grenville were living the same life as the staff as the people at the community, like all the same rules, all the same policies, the same rule of life, and they all had to be members of the community of Jesus in order to work at Grenville. So, um, all of us staff kids were told that we had to stay for life, and that God would tell our leaders if we were meant to stay at Grenville or at the community. So a lot of the staff kids that grew up in Canada are living at the community still. My brother is a monk there, and a lot of the members of there are several monks and nuns that grew up in Canada who are still there. And that's like that sister who tried to escape. She was a student at Grenville. Um, and yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
I'd
Who
also
is that?
like to just say if you visit rockharbortruth.com, um, there is a tab that says I want to know more or something like that. And if you drop down, there's a community of Jesus history and a Grenville history that you can read and by year show you how those two came together.
That's
Who's
helpful.
in the leadership at this time?
What was that?
Who's in the leadership at this time
Where?
at the community?
Uh, so it's
Like,
there's a mother, a new mother, Mother
Karen.
Karen, I believe, and her sidekick is the son of the mother. Name is Rick Pugsley, and from what I hear, he's pretty much as in charge as she is. But I that people can correct me if I'm wrong. But do you know Sean or Bonnie? Is Rick pulling? Does he basically lead just as much as Mother Karen?
Yeah. Um, yeah, he's the sub prior and Karen Moore is the prioress.
Okay.
so was it Rick Pugsley's dad that was thrown out?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so he's gone. Rick Pugsley Sr. is gone.
Yes.
Yeah,
Why
yeah,
was
long
he-
gone.
Why was he thrown
He
out?
was thrown out by the community because of his repeated sexual abuse of the boys there. And he was the husband of Betty Pugsley, who was one of the leaders. They finally said, we can't keep you here anymore. And he's somewhere in England or Italy or somewhere and not welcome back.
Yeah.
Karen Moore's husband is Ponderosa Landscaping,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is a very big company around here.
Ooh,
Yeah, yeah. My son worked for them for 6 years,
yeah.
and he said he never had any kind of proselytizing or anything
No.
at all
Mm-mm. He
from
wouldn't.
them.
Yeah.
I think they know they've learned very well how to operate within the community, the larger community of Orleans, etc., so that they appear to be, excellent citizens who anyone would want to hire or anyone would want to work with, and they know just how to behave, just the same way as we did at Grenville. We knew how to get students and lure in parents and make sure that they were very comfortable sending their kids to our school, which is why this Rock Harbor Truth is so important because you guys are being, you know, conned, duped, um, in many ways. So yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, do you know how many people successfully left, like Diane? You know, how many, like, is there a percentage? And second question is, I would think like Diane would be a great resource. Anybody who's successfully left would be part of this, a support group or something to help others who want to leave.
You want to know? I've spoken with multiple people,
Okay.
escapees,
Yeah.
survivors. One was my sister's roommate for 3 years over there. My sister-in-law lived there for 2 months, and to the point of what all she's been talking about, many of those will not become involved in help, and this is why. This is why.
That's interesting.
Some of them still have family members in the community, and so they know if their name is associated with us trying to help or it's publicized that they're helping, the community will cut them off.
Sounds like the community
From-
murders people. I mean, seriously, all this fear. What
So,
do they
and
do
then
to
some
people?
of the other people, the two mothers that started it were Kay and Judy.
Yes.
Okay. Judy had a daughter. Jill had a daughter, Jill
Jill.
Sorensen. Jill Sorensen at some point in time went out with my brother. She was the daughter of one of the mothers. She finally escaped with her husband, being a daughter of one of the higher two. And although she's been able to talk to me in text, when I ask her if she will come be on a podcast, because she could blow them wide open with all the stuff she knows. Right. And she won't. She said, I have worked so hard to get to have a somewhat normal life. I don't mind texting you about your sister, but I just can't go back. It takes me, she said, I have physical things that are still wrong with me because of the emotional trauma that she's gone through. And so where it seems to us, wouldn't they want to help? My own sister-in-law that was only there 2 months.
Well, I don't understand because it's not me. I didn't go through what you went through, so I'm only just talking.
Well, I'm just saying.
No, I know, but I understand.
Some people will not become involved.
I wasn't as.
We're lucky to have Diane.
Yeah, Diane.
But Diane,
I've been out for 15 years and it's only been in the last year that I've been willing to talk to anybody.
why is that?
Brainwashing,
Well,
right? Like,
No,
I
no, for
appreciate
one
that.
thing, for a long time, how I felt is basically it's nobody's damn business. And I had so much that I had to process myself after 35 years, 6 months, and 2 days.
How many hours?
It's just a lot. And I don't really hate anybody there. You know, if the community were to collapse, I worry about what would happen to some of the sisters who have nobody and nothing else.
Which is why Rock Harbor Truth is good.
Yeah, but part of my experience with Samantha at the hospital was she didn't want to hear anything from anybody. Kate offered her a room in her home. But I think so many people for so much of her life have been telling her that even if we were going to tell her how to get help and tell her what her next steps can be, it's just more people talking at her, telling her.
What happened for you? What was it for you that allowed you to go?
Alrighty.
Yeah.
I'd been building up to it for many years. And I knew when I was 62, I could collect Social Security.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So I was 62 when I left. I had written a note. I had to get, my note had to go through the senior sisters and they approved it before it could go to Betty. So
you have to ask permission for different things.
I rewrote my note and then I added another note. And basically it said that I felt that the sisterhood needed more diversity. It wasn't going to grow with just everybody thinking and feeling the same, etc. And I had also asked for a leave of absence. And it was a Thursday night and I got a phone call as people were on their way to Compline. It was Betsy Sorensen, who was the sub-prioress. And she said, I'm not giving your note to Mother Betty. It's too disrespectful and you are telling her, not asking. So I slammed the phone down, screamed asshole at the top of my lungs.
But that's what you must be, that kind of righteous anger.
And went outdoors and called a friend from St. Joan of Arc.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
You were angry enough and you said enough.
Yeah.
That probably is.
But how many years did it take?
I know, I
to get to that
understand,
point?
but that's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was aware I had been dissociating even while I was there.
Yeah.
I had just reached that kind of a point. And I would just I'd ask a question and somebody would mumble an answer and I'd say, could you say that again? I didn't hear it. I didn't say anything. Yes, you did. You either speak up or shut your mouth. I was not being nice. And I just could not do it another minute longer.
No.
But a few months before that, somebody had asked me, another sister, a younger one, and said, "Why do you stay?" And I said, "Because I made a promise to God."
Yeah, and that's big.
Yeah, yeah. But then I decided God broke her promises to me, so it was fair.
True.
Can I interject real quick? I have to go. I'm so sad I have to go. Will Bonnie make this available so I can see what's said? Is that okay with everybody?
Can you hear that, Bonnie?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. If she shares it with you, I can get it from you.
Okay.
I think Sean wanted to interject something too.
Okay.
Yeah, hello everyone. Sean DeLude. I'm sorry I've had some technical difficulties that were unexpected. I've really been looking forward to meeting all of you and having an opportunity to hear your feedback on Beth's wonderful book and introduce you to myself. And I want to thank Jeannie for hosting this as well and all you participating. Again, I'm sorry. I did have a different bit of a story than Diane and Bonnie. And I don't know if you're all interested in hearing, I guess, a brief description of kind of what got me to where I'm at. Because I know this is a book club about Beth's book, but as Ann had mentioned, I'm happy to talk to all of you at any point and answer any questions as to, what we're doing at Rock Harbor Truth and why we're doing it. I escaped at the age of 15 from the Community of Jesus after my parents had moved us there. I knew the place was wrong from the get-go before we even moved there. And while I was living at the community, I compiled a box full of their teaching tapes and transcripts and items that they had used to instruct us and brainwash us. And my intentions at that age were to get them out of the community and hopefully use them to expose the community what was going on in there. And they found that information, unfortunately. And that was when they decided to ship me up to Canada and kind of get me out of their hair. And they were basically banishing me up to Canada, where they were sending me to live forever at the age of 15. And that was where I ran away from. And ever since then, I've been outspoken about the community and the horrible things that have taken place. I've done many media articles. I've been on the Chronicle as well, as were my parents, both of us speaking against one another, they in support and I against. And one of the frustrating and challenging things has been over the years is watching survivors attempt to leave, my siblings included. My folks still live there, but watching them attempt to leave and struggle immensely, many of them without repair and still damaged today. Some of the fortunate ones are able to find some healing and continue on their path after the destruction. It's been very difficult because I've seen a lot of people that were in positions inside the community of making decisions that actually altered a lot of people's lives. Those people have left. One of the names was just mentioned. It was Jeannie. Who were you talking about? Jill.
Jill?
Yeah. So Jill and several other people were in great positions of power. They've left, and I think the struggle is there's a guilt associated. Not only are they trying to get on with their lives and figure out how to change things, but I think there's a guilt as to kind of what Beth and Bonnie have alluded to, is that when you're in there, you do things that you aren't necessarily proud of, and it's from the brainwashing and the fear. So I understand why people are trying to get their lives together, but I do believe it'd be great if some of those people were able to speak up, because it would be even more edification as to just how horrible things were and are inside the place. So
How many
Wow.
people are in the community?
currently, we're not exactly sure. When I was there was 500-600 people on the premise, and that was just in Orleans, and it's scattered worldwide, obviously in Canada, which is not in existence. We believe the number has dwindled to the low 200s right now, physically on the property, and still affiliated, members at large throughout the country.
I was talking to a sister the other day and I asked her how many there were, and she said that the number stays right around 60 for sisters, which is about 10 less than when I was there.
Wow.
It's still a very powerful place, and it has a hold on the local community, meaning the town people. It has power in the local governments. It has also instilled fear on a financial level across the businesses in the community, fear of being retribution for speaking out. In other words, people not patronizing those businesses, so losing that business. They have the ability to sway town votes, which we've seen many times when several hundred people show up at a New Orleans town meeting. It's pretty powerful. So very scary.
Wow.
There was one time when there wasn't a quorum and there was an orchestra rehearsal going on, and I was on the switchboard and I got a phone call saying, we need to cancel orchestra and everybody needs to come to town meeting so it can happen.
Sean, can you tell us more about how they're involved with the town government? Have they sort of infiltrated town government people?
Oh, so that's a great question. We have a lot of information on Rock Harbor Truth in terms of things that the community has tried to apply for and have down at their property. One of them being that massive church, which I'm sure you all have seen. There's no way that ever should have been built. That's on a swamp. And it was a land grab. It was a money give. It was some transfer of property. They've been involved on levels, various levels for many years, whether it's been sitting, I don't know if anyone's directly been on the selectmen, the board of selectmen, but, as we know, currently the town moderator is affiliated. I mean, his father is one of the premier prime lawyers responsible for a lot of the things that have taken place there. They're on, Board of Health, they're on different, committees and whatnot. So on that level, that's how they're connected.
John Kanega?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, he's involved in that law firm. And he is on the Board of Health, and he is the town moderator, and he is on the board of Lower Cape Outreach. And
Yeah.
I know him. I don't think he's involved with the community, even though, as you said, his father is.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Father's involvement with the community.
Lawyer.
He's the head bulldog. He's the lawyer representing the community in general, or
Yes.
with litigation, or
His father has represented the community in many, many transactions over the years. Member to member, represented the community throughout the whole building of the church process.
Let me set it up for tomorrow. I'll get something to you. All right.
Let's just wait. Press on top that. You can do.
Right.
Can somebody needs to mute.
Yeah.
Brody, she's at the airport in between flights.
Sean,
So I'm not sure if John is currently working for his father's firm or not, but I do know that they have a very close connection. So is he living inside the place and within the walls of it? I don't believe so. I'm certain he is not.
no, he's not.
But
Yeah.
someone asked him directly at paddle tennis, are you a member or not? And he sort of went around the bush. And finally, the person who asked him said, this is a yes or no question. And he said, well, we take our children there for church.
Oh, I'm not gonna say something that I'm not 100% sure, but you do the math.
Yeah, I get it.
The last time I looked at the Lariat and Conejo website, John was listed as a lawyer there.
John the father.
Yeah.
No,
The father's Chris. The father's Chris.
Father, oh yeah, Chris Canadian, all right, and John is his son, okay, well,
I think one of the things that may be so difficult to comprehend for so many people that haven't lived there and are coming to grips with as we read these books and start hearing about all this information and the truth that's getting out is it's unbelievable and almost too difficult to comprehend that people could allow themselves to find themselves in this position of control and fear. And I mean, we think of yourselves. I look around the room here. I'm sure a lot of you don't feel this way. You care about your children. You care about who you are as a person. That all, they're in the business of breaking people down and changing who you are and making you a controllable asset in essence. My parents on the Chronicle show um, admitted that they think it's great that families are divided and living in a communal thing and being raised by other people. And my father actually went so far as to say, yeah, absolutely. Kids, kids don't live with their parents. They live with other families. And he had to rescind his statement
Yeah.
And probably got into a tremendous amount of trouble because you have Betty Bugsley, the prioress of the community at that point, saying, absolutely not. Kids don't live with anyone else. So, they would never do that. And
Yeah.
so it's so hard to comprehend this mentality of people. And I think that's why the more people that are able to tell their stories, it becomes a little more believable and maybe understandable. Trying to crawl into our shoes as survivors is pretty challenging, I would imagine. I know Ann and I have had unbelievable stories where, as a mom, she can't possibly understand how parents would willingly give up their children.
I hope
Yeah.
that you'll listen to episode 13 of the podcast if you haven't. It was an interview with a doctor of psychology who teaches about the psychosocial impact of cults at Arizona State University and explains how this kind of happens. So it's not all of the answers, but I think it helps a little bit, maybe.
Yeah. That was a really good episode.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, and I want to bring it back to Beth because Beth, it was so interesting to hear you say the fear of publishing and the fear that has stayed with you, that you're still living in some fear about the community of Jesus. I mean, after all of this, and it just shows the control, the power, the deep influence that it has on people's state of mind.
I
Yeah,
can tell
thanks.
you, sorry, Beth, go
No, what
ahead.
were you gonna say? What were you gonna say?
No. I want you to acknowledge what Ann said. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, um, yeah, now I'm forgetting. Well, like I'm afraid to tell my brother. My brother who's a monk there, he almost never visits. I hadn't seen him in 10 years, but he happened to come up for a quick visit last June. And the very same day I was doing a book um, signing at a big bookstore in Ottawa. And so I arrived late to our family dinner because I'd been at this signing and I I didn't know what to tell him. I didn't know, 10 years had gone by and my life had fallen apart. If you've read my book, I'd been through a lot in the last 6 years, especially, and I had nothing to tell him. Like, as I was so afraid that I couldn't tell him about the book and I couldn't tell him that I'd lost my career, that I was no longer a teacher. I couldn't tell him anything because I was afraid that he would then go back to the community in case they didn't know about my book and tell them. Do you know what I mean? Um, just so afraid. And oh, that was the other thing. I think Sean, you had told me back right when the book came out, you had said, would you come down to Orleans and meet with readers? I could, organize something. And I took that to my therapist, and she said, over my dead body, because we're afraid, like, I don't want to lose, you know, my house for, because if the community is going to go after me like they had with other people. Luckily, we've talked about this, and that I think that ship has sailed. But the thing that Jean had said, and also you talked about, Sean, is like people are so afraid to even talk about it, even in small groups or even in like private. We have a private survivors group on Facebook, and I've noticed over the years that just there's almost no dialogue except for a couple people who are starting to get comfortable talking about things. And yeah, it's
What
just
seems to be a common theme along this fear line is a lot of survivors, people that have left, have family members still in there, and they're so good at having figured out how to capture at least one family member. For me, it's my folks that live there, and I am sorry to them for what I've been doing, but I believe that my pursuit of the greater good for to try and save so many people is unfortunate that they're probably bearing the brunt of it there, but it keeps a lot of survivors from speaking out because they're afraid of what's going to happen to their siblings or
yeah,
their family members that are in there. So many people are silenced.
yep.
Dawn, has the community come after you either directly or indirectly from a financial point of view to cause you financial difficulties?
I believe the question was, has the community come after me financially to try and cause financial harm?
Yeah,
Yes.
Is that correct?
yeah.
Yes.
So my situation's a little unique. I'm what one might consider extremely stubborn and a very strong-willed person. And I don't know how much you know of me, but I built up a very successful business on the Cape. And
Oh, we're so
um,
deluded.
my
I'm sorry, I didn't know that. I said, the sexual audience summer skill. We know each other. Sorry.
well, my whole thing was the best revenge was success. And so what I did was built up a very successful company right under their noses.
I love
And
that.
it was multi purposed. A, because I needed to do something, but B, I wanted to show people in the community, my siblings at the time who were still living there, that you can leave, you can be successful. The world will not gobble you up. The devil's not going to come and hang you from a tree. You can have a great life and you can be successful. And I built up a tremendous network. They never gave me an ounce of business, and nor would I have wanted it. Um, and some of the negative things that I learned within actually helped me be as successful as I was. So I've had to protect myself tremendously from legal standpoint, insulate myself as much as possible. But no, they have not been able to, and I wouldn't be surprised if at some point it's coming. So I'm ready and waiting.
Hmm.
Sean, could I just say you're a gift to this
Yes.
whole process, to helping others. You are a gift.
Mm.
Everything you say, you're an inspiration. I'm really loving listening to you talk. You are
Well,
hopeful.
thank you.
Really?
Thank
Sean,
you.
can you just say a little bit now? I know Anne said a little bit in the beginning, but just explain to everyone here who may not know what all Rock Harbor Truth is and why we're getting into this discussion after reading Beth's book and hearing her and where we go from here.
Yeah, sorry, Beth, that this is deviating a little from the book. But I think in the end, it's what we're all
Yeah.
trying to do. And by speaking out, telling your story, it's exactly the purpose of what Rock Harbor Truth is. So, as I said, since the age of 15, I've been spreading the word about my experiences and stories of what I endured. I've been a bit of an underground railroad for people that have tried to leave. I've helped people, a lot of people escape. A lot of people have tried to tell their stories in an effort to make a difference and hope that the outside world would not support the community. And it was often stories of mental abuse, which are rampant in the place and still are, just by the discussions we had, and very easily dismissed by their lawyers. And we've seen it a million times in almost every article that's been done. It's turned into a he said, she said situation because it's usually one or two or a few people that speak out and we're labeled rebellious, angry, you name it. So up until uh, recently, when we had these major occurrences, horrible occurrences. I'm not sure if we mentioned poor Aaron Bushnell and his sacrificing himself at the stairs of the Israeli consulate. It's some other suicides.
Yeah.
It's the Ortolani case, which just came out, within the last year or so. Had we ever even thought of, oh my God, things that we normalize, the abuse, the physical labor, the sexual abuse. I mean, so Rock Harbor Truth is in essence geez, I feel we're trying to propel what Aaron Bushnell wanted to do as a member of the community, as a misled member of the community. He made sacrifices, his life. We're trying to honor him and bring the truth forward for all these survivors. So hopefully people won't have to go through this and do this anymore. And we're trying to stop the abuse of children. The adults are being abused every day. Kids have been abused all along, myself included, and several here. But it's to provide a clearinghouse of information, kind of a one-stop shop for most of the information that's available. It's public information that Bonnie and I have and others have spent tremendous amounts of time gathering and putting out there for you to educate yourselves and research and make your own decisions. As much as we'd like to stand on the top of the mountains and cry how horrible this place is, it's not going to do any good. It's going to be more important that you find out yourself. You question the place. You spread the word. It's also to bring survivors some unity and a voice and a place of acceptance and okayedness that what they went through wasn't right, and it's okay to feel that. So hopefully some healing, and we're just seeing more and more survivors come out and speak, and we're getting more and more support as people become more educated, as ambassadors like Jeannie. I've known of Diane for a long time, but we've never really even spent any time together. In the last year or so, we have gotten to know each other, and it's we never would have spoke out. I mean, we didn't know each other. So it's a place to get educated. It's a place where hopefully people will understand how many tentacles are out in the world, how many different entities are wrapped around the community that people are unknowingly supporting through arts and music and all this stuff and going to these wonderful events. It's hopefully giving people an opportunity to see what's going on and make decisions for themselves, whether they want to support a place like this or not, or if they want to join in and do something about it. And hopefully in the end, maybe it will be something where there will be a lot more survivors out there than there will be members of the community. So.
Are you at some point planning on taking on the community itself?
There you go, at some point, Prince.
Little old me.
I understand about the survivors, but I'm suggesting that perhaps you can legally take on the community for the abuse that is continuing.
So I think we're seeing it happen already. We're seeing survivors coming out, and I think we're going to see individual cases like the Ortolani case starting to pop up. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that's going to happen. when Grenville was closed and the Canadian legal system ruled in favor of the plaintiffs, they acknowledged that the Community of Jesus was directly puppeteering the school up in Canada. And unfortunately, because it's the Canadian legal system, there's not much that the U.S. legal system could glom onto and grab, but there is a connection there. They are responsible. There's legal findings. Is it possible that someday there's a cumulative effort? Yeah, I hope so.
I'd like to just interject because I think that you're an attorney. So you're probably very familiar with statutes of limitations. And unfortunately, in the United States, all of the claims that were brought by the Grenville students they exist in the United States, they exist in Massachusetts, but they have extremely narrow statutes of limitations, like 3 years. You're lucky if there's 6. And, I think you heard Diane say not that long ago that it took her 15 years before she even could process what happened. So, yes, we are excited because Massachusetts looks like it is poised to completely eliminate the statute of limitations for child sexual abuse. So I believe that there will be things coming out on that vein, but there are so many other issues that need to be addressed. And with the current statutes, we have no recourse. So Rock Harbor Truth has had conversations with elected members of the Massachusetts legislature. But there's so much more that needs to be done to educate about institutional abuse, which is what we're talking about. And it involves so much more than just children being raped and molested. I mean, that's a start, but that is only a part of the story. So if any of you have a voice to talk to members of the lawmaking bodies in Massachusetts, we need help advocating for things to change in that vein. And if they don't, there is a lot that we won't be able to take on with the Community of Jesus because we don't have the recourse to do it.
Bonnie and Sean, I just have to compliment you on the podcasts that you've done. They're very powerful. And I'm personally, and I think a lot of us are spreading the word about those. And I think the more people that hear those podcasts, at least more educated people here in Orleans and the surrounding area will know.
Bonnie, we can't see you anymore. Did you turn off your video on purpose?
Yeah, I did because, ew.
We're looking at as your name.
Yeah, I'm here.
You guys want to hear a little known secret that Bonnie doesn't like telling people about? As
what?
The builder, creator of these podcasts, she has zero experience with podcasts up until this point, and now look what she's producing.
I'd never listened to one.
Really?
No. And
You're such a natural.
I've only listened to one other one when I was actually driving to and from the Cape. I listened to Morbid, which is a podcast about serial killers. And it's a very different thing than what we're doing. But thank you so much. And thank you for spreading the word. We really are hoping that our listener base expands so that we can actually monetize what we're doing and raise money to help support survivors with their legal and just daily living expenses. So thank you. Just keep spreading the word, keep listening. There's some really amazing podcasts coming up.
I just want to add one other thing that I would say one of Rock Harbor Truth's most powerful weapons that we have and are using are these book clubs. And somebody said to Sean and me, you know, if you want to get something done, get a bunch of angry moms together and shit will happen. So, excuse my French, but, you know, we have had many book clubs, and with a lot of, I mean, the book club that we had was practically 100% Orleans residents, people who have lived here their whole lives, raised their families there, have businesses there, and people were in shock, like could not believe that this was going on in the quaint little town of Orleans. And you go down to Rock Harbor for the sunset and people don't know what on earth is going on behind them. So this is amazing. And I just want to thank Jeannie again and all of you for your interest and your support and your just spreading the word. And between the books and the podcast and the website, it's like this perfect storm of educate yourselves, spread the word. It's all factual. You know, these are anecdotal people's stories and people's experiences combined with the facts, combined with all of the uproar and rage that we're all feeling that this is still happening in our sweet little Orleans on the Cape.
I'm amazed at
Thank you.
the research that you've done. For example, Mother Kay and Mother Judy, I never knew anything about them and growing up. And that's so helpful to understand their mentality and where they came from.
Right.
So I really applaud all that research you've done. It's incredible.
And just so let me just add that these guys have given us a printout that says book club sign in, and they're scattered around with pens, but if any of you want to put your name and your email, and then it checks the box if you want to host a gathering, you want to meet with them, you want to donate or something else. So these are all around. So sign them in if you want. I've got a bunch of Rock Harbor Truth brochures laying around. You're welcome to take them, but everything that's in these you'll find on rockharbortruth.com. And then we went to the Performing Arts Center website, and they had one page in there that was thanking everybody that had donated to help build that building. And we printed out the list off of their website. And our intent is to visit some of these businesses and say, do you know that the Performing Arts Center is an arm of the community? Yes or no? If you don't, you need to know that. And do you know that your name is on their website as being a supporter of them?
I have two neighbors who I'm talking to.
Okay. So that's one small way we can all help. And there's a couple copies of this around, and we can make more if you want, or you can go to the website yourself.
They really should know as well, Jeannie, that the Performing Arts Center is at the middle of a massive federal lawsuit involving child trafficking. That's what their name is on. So yes, it is an arm of the community. It's also was built using unpaid forced child labor. I don't know how many businesses want their name on that.
Right. Well, the one that I saw yesterday did know it was an arm of the community, but absolutely does not want their name on their website and was appalled that it would be on their website without their knowledge. So that's one small way that we're going to be hitting the ground. And
That's not small. That's not small. That's huge. And we really need you.
The businesses that are already community businesses, so no need to go see them. They know who they're giving their money to.
I thought that the child labor law case that's been written up in the local papers, the suit that had been applied to the community has now been withdrawn. No. Okay. Well,
No, the community is now going after the parents.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. But as a result of that, it was my understanding that the child labor suit had been withdrawn as a result of the threat of the community going after the parent.
No, but what you might have been seeing is that Carol Murchison, who's known as the cult assassin, the lawyer, she retired. So she withdrew from the case, but there are a bunch of new super powerhouse attorneys who've signed on to the case. So I'm, think and keep the Ortolani family in your thoughts, because the parents, they left the community. They had to sell their portion of the house that they own there with other community members. Obviously, the only people who are going to buy that are other community people or the community itself. So they left with almost nothing. Are obviously not getting a fair market share price for their portion of that house. And they're trying to defend themselves against this lawsuit that the community has filed against them, which was really kind of crappy. I'd like to use Anne's word. It was really shitty, because most often that would have been like a third party, addition to the lawsuit. But instead, they decided to outright sue the parents. And um, nobody is saying that all of these things didn't occur. They're just saying it's not their fault. And that, yeah, that's so keep them in your thoughts and prayers. And we're trying to support the family as much as we can.
And
And
they're
that
not
family
alone.
is, yeah. And
They're
that
not.
family they're so brave because they just left like 2 years ago. And as we've been talking, most people can't even talk about or process what they've been through. And here they are, like, leading a lawsuit, like the first of its kind. Yeah, it's really, the parents who are being countersued are my age or just younger, and were brought up there. And I just can't imagine the stress that they are undergoing. So yeah, but it's a big
And,
deal.
and it's not an isolated situation. They make all of the parents sign these documents, and they sign out of fear because the retribution is too painful to endure. Do you have a choice? Sure. Is someone taking your hand and forcing the hand to sign? No, but it's all up in here and you don't have a choice. So, to Bonnie's point, they signed, but it doesn't make abuse right still. So, the community's still admitting that it happened. They're just trying to pass off the guilt on the parents who they forced to sign. So, again, education is everything.
Yeah.
John, I don't know if people living in the community know about what's going on in book clubs and how this movement is starting. Do any of them know?
I wouldn't be surprised if we're being vilified. I would imagine that one of their what they're trying to do, probably about myself, Bonnie, and whoever is involved, or anyone that speaks out against them, is the same thing that they've done all along. Is they try to make us look like horrible people that are just spreading horrible things. Do the people in the community know that this is going on? I would like to think so. There's enough scuttlebutt out there. There's social media now that they're allowed to, some of them are participating in. There are some members that we are secretively talking to. How far and how wide it's known in there as to what's going on, we don't know, but that's something that we're talking about, and how to be there as a resource for anyone that's ready to leave.
Hey, Sean, I just want to add that anyone I mention the book to, or and since I've read it, I've told a lot of people, anyone I mention it to is like, oh, I've always wondered about that. They're so curious, and every one of them has wanted me to loan the book to them, which I'm like, just that is like so much attention has been brought, and I think people do want to know.
Well, we're finding two things. The obvious, the heartstrings. We're talking about abuse of every nature. So no one wants that to be going on. We're talking about a beautiful place which we've all gone down to and watch the sunsets or the fishing boats come and go, and this is going on 100 yards behind our back. So there's that. But what really surprises people is the people that don't know, and then all of a sudden they're hearing about this, and they're like, "Oh my God, this has been going on in our community for 50 years, and no one's done anything about it." So there's these it's affecting everyone. It's a stain, as one of our friends said, which really stuck in my mind. It's a stain on our community, and it's been allowed to go on. And where's the accountability of? And listen, I don't think I'm favored right now when I'm having these conversations with the chief of police and selectmen, because all of a sudden they're going, "Oh, we're kind of responsible. We look the other way on a lot of things."
I like that, Sean.
Well, I just sent the podcast to one of the select persons because she is
Which one?
she's a neighbor, Andrea Reed.
No, which podcast?
All of them.
Oh,
I sent
okay.
all of them to
Okay.
her
Okay.
because she's a neighbor and a good friend. So I'm going to be anxious to see her reaction.
When we had the band concerts and barbecues, and I think they were supposed to end by 10, and I can't remember the name of the family that lived over there. Anyhow, they could call and complain all they wanted, but the chief of police and the fire chief were at the band concert and barbecue.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
that kept everything going. Didn't matter what the law was.
Diane, I've sat in his office and well, he knows I kind of have him, and he's guilty and has and during our conversation, I said many times, "I just want you to know that we've never favored the community of Jesus. I just want you to know we've never favored the community of Jesus." And twice now I've been like, "Well, actually, the fireworks were supposed to start at 7:30, and this past year the community was having a concert, and they literally called the town all day long trying to get them to hold off 45 minutes or half an hour to launch the fireworks off so all their patrons could come out and watch the fireworks." And they did. The town held off. And then the last time I was in his office, he said, "Just want you to know we've never favored. We've never favored." I'm like, "Well, yesterday on your social media page, you actually advertised something for the Performing Arts Center, was donating Christmas trees, whoever needed it, because someone gave them the trees." I said, "The Performing Arts Center is in the center of a legal lawsuit of child abuse. So I'm sorry, but you are kind of supporting it."
Good.
What was his reply?
Yeah, what was his reply to
Yeah.
that?
We don't support or offer favoritism to the community of Jesus.
Do you know if they took that off the website? I
haven't
and I
looked.
decided-
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
I
It's a little difficult to hear the folks in the back. So if we're leaning forward, it's not because we're trying to get really close, but I don't know if they've taken it down. But and it's resonating through all of the departments. I mean, we're talking to the DA and the Attorney General and the Selectmen, the Conservation Commission. I mean, again, how did a church get built literally on a swamp? So, Beth,
So
I
can
feel
we
like
go
we've detracted from the book. I feel really horrible.
No, don't. Please don't. I actually, this is like blowing my mind. And I'm really happy because all I ever wanted from my book was for the story to get out and for people to listen and hear it. And when my daughter asked me yesterday, people keep telling you that they're lending your book. Does that bother you that they're not buying copies? I'm like, no, I want as many people to read it. Like, it's not about the money. I just want this story to make an impact in some way and a meaningful way. And this right here is like beyond my hope, so like not that I can't claim that my story like it's my story plus everyone's story on the podcast plus everything you're doing with Rock Harbor Truth. It's like a collective effort, and that is what matters to me. So I think, and also, like, I just wanted to have discussion like I wanted it to be a springboard for discussion. So that's what we're doing. So like, yeah.
I can't see everyone that's joining by Zoom. I can't see that on my screen. But do you want to ask them? We all here have been able to ask you questions. Are any of them out there? Do they have questions they want to ask you?
While you're thinking about it, one of the conversations we've been having is hey, I'd love Beth to come and do something at the Orleans Library, a meet and greet, as well as some survivors. But what I really envision, and we've been talking a lot about, is preparing a survivor panel, and maybe have a forum where it's scary because we open ourselves up to an extremely litigious group, as you can imagine, but it's not much different than the podcast and people telling their stories. So
I like that idea.
Beth,
it'd
I
be
think
pretty cool.
Heidi has a question.
I
Hi,
do.
Heidi.
It's kind of a minor thing, but in your book, you describe as a student being a very good student and being punished by never knowing what your grades were. And I wonder how many kids that happened to, and how did you keep your sense of self-worth and keep going with those academic excellent results?
Thank you for that question. Well, to answer how many students, I only know a hand, like maybe three people that it happened to, and they were all staff kids. Um, and all like me, people who were really
Academic.
academically inclined. But how did I like it really, yeah, like when I wrote about it, I thought, oh, who's gonna think this was all that bad? Because we normalize everything, right? But it really tore me down and brought me to a part up, like it was demoralizing completely, especially being in a school where academic excellence was everything, and my brothers having been valedictorian and salutatorian, I felt like a nobody. um I don't know, like I just liked learning. So I guess I just wanted, and also I couldn't live with myself. Like I was, when they took my grades away, I was in grade 9, and by then I had a very high work ethic. So I just kind of it just sort of felt natural to continue to care and work. In a small way, it took off the edge of the stress, like I wouldn't wish this on anyone, but it is interesting how if you don't know what your grades are, you can go in through high school. I did have a little less stress. Do you know what I mean about exams and papers and such? So, but I don't know. I think I'm just wired to be an achiever. So, like, I I um I was able to kind of keep going. But I remember feeling really demoralized a lot of the time.
Did they give you feedback about your work, whether you got a grade or not? Did they tell you, well, you're not on the
Yes.
right track here?
Yes. So if it were something like a math test, I could tell how many I got wrong or whatever. But it was more things like essays and big projects that, they'd give me feedback, but no grade. So yeah, it was really tough. And it was just all part of that whole notion that we needed to be broken and tear down our sense of self and our identity and our ego. So yeah,
But it
I
must have
think
been that spirit that you had that made you keep going, that they wanted to break.
yeah, yeah. I've been told that, not well, I'm well aware that everyone had different disciplines, everyone had different experiences, and I think anyone who had a level of talent or drive or ambition to be someone was very targeted. So that was the case for me and my dad especially, and it would have been my brothers, but they it got the heat intensified by the time my brothers had gone through the system. So my oldest brother, he was the valedictorian. Um, if he had been my age, he probably wouldn't have been the valedictorian either. Do you know what I mean? Like it just got more intense. So anyway, yeah,
Beth also talked about losing leading roles right at the
yeah.
end to punish
Mm.
you. That is just heartbreaking.
It, thank you. It was devastating. I was like, yeah, I would be in tears, like playing my viola. I think I mentioned. I remember, yeah, I was down in the pit playing instead of performing on stage, and just just it tore me up because that's, you know, like some people wouldn't care, that's not what they want, but that was my goal all since I was very little to be on stage. So, yeah. And they did that, interesting. I don't know if I put this in there, but they did it to several boarding students who were from the outside, just regular boarding students. They would yank their roles right at the maybe last few weeks, come up with whatever sin, just, and I've heard from several people who have read the book that it happened to them as well. So, yeah,
Beth, was
just
it
awful.
different for girls than boys? Like, were
Um,
women more targeted?
it's hard to say. Like, girls had it much worse for the purity culture aspect. And you know, but there were a fair number of boys who lost their rules or weren't allowed to, like I have one of my best friends who was an excellent pianist. He wasn't allowed to be on, like, touch the piano for years, or uh yeah, so it was kind of equal opportunity in that way. Anyone who was really gifted was very much in danger of being that, their ability to do that gift for whatever reason. Like, even there was one boy who he was a student, a boarding student, and he was a very gifted pianist and he lived he was able to play the organ. He learned to play the organ as a teenager. So he was being asked to play the organ in neighboring churches. So he was an up and coming, like, kind of prodigy. And Father Farnsworth uh knew that he was gay. And so he subjected him to private um, conversion therapy sessions in a horrifying, um, like, targeted abuse. And part of the abuse of that, he told him he wasn't allowed to play music anymore. So he wasn't even allowed to touch the piano. And that boy has never played since. And he's now just a little younger than me. And he's never, like, he can't bear to play. So, it's just so awful.
Everywhere you look, it's
That's
awful.
terrible.
Yeah. Anybody else have a question?
Mine's not a question, but just a comment on what we were just saying. I'm doing a craft project. It's just a cute little, I'm crocheting flowers in a vine and I'm going to hang them down from my window and it will be cute, but I know it won't be good enough.
Mhm.
You know? And that's just so deeply instilled in me that even though I know on one level it will be good enough
Mhm.
and it will be cute, on another level, I know it will not pass muster. So,
Yeah, that perfectionism. That perfection. That's the thing. We were required to be beyond perfect, and then we were torn down for doing well. So it was like the constant mind fuck, excuse my language, where you couldn't you could never win. But you're right, that perfectionism is crazy. It's still, yeah.
That's what happened with my sister. My sister lived there for 3 years at the community, high school, freshman, sophomore, junior years. And she died 2 years ago at 65. And I think she suffered her whole adult life with this mentality because
Yeah.
she didn't know enough and we didn't know enough back in those days that she was so damaged that she needed psychological help, whereas Diane has been able to get that. My sister, I think, went through her whole adult life with that mentality.
Yeah.
If nothing she did was ever good enough, and she wasn't surprised because that's what they told her was going to happen when she left, and she was never going to amount to anything, and she had diabetes and didn't take care of it. And when you don't take care of diabetes, it eats away at your body until you die.
Mm.
I'm convinced now, hearing all these stories of survivors and their mindsets and how they have to work to get out of them, that she was just never able to get out of it and it ate her up.
So sorry for your loss. That's so sad. Ugh,
65, you know,
it's
but that's
brutal.
how bad they screw everybody's minds up.
Hmm.
You know, we can say we see sexual abuse, physical abuse, but what they've done to people's minds is. And another piece that I have to say here, and maybe it's just because I'm a Christian, I have a church that I love, and I love that part of my life. It's a joyful part of my life. There's a lot of people that have escaped that will never go back to church.
Yeah.
They think God has let them down. They don't think there's a God anymore. So they've screwed those people over the
Hmm.
one thing that could give them joy.
And they've also given a bad name to
Right.
religion.
Religion.
Religion that's
Right.
in general.
One of the things that breaks my heart a lot is so a number of us in on Rock Harbor were sexually abused by the community's doctor. And we didn't talk about it with each other, obviously, but we've talked since. Um and those of us who had that experience can't go to our annual appointments. And when I go, they have to give me medication that makes me like forget the what happened during the exam. And it's really hard on your body and your mind. And there's a lot of us who don't go at all. And it makes me really crazy because that can be a life or death thing that we literally can't do because of what was done to us. That could cost us our lives. And they're just these insidious pieces of our development that were absolutely interrupted. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. It just makes me so upset. But the long-term impact is just there's no way to quantify it. Um, and the community knew about this man, and they did nothing but protect
Betty,
him.
Yep.
Betty Pugsley once said to the sisters that, if you do something wrong, if you get in trouble, basically we won't be happy, but we will circle the wagons and protect you.
Yeah.
What was that supposed
Yep.
to mean?
And that's what they did.
Yeah. They protected the doctor. Yeah.
They
But
did.
not the survivors or the
No.
victims. Sorry?
No, you're right. They didn't check the survivor.
Bonnie,
Yeah.
Bonnie, they're asking now, was that a doctor? That's Dr. Veely, right?
Yes.
That
Yes.
you're talking about. Yeah, so yes, he was a doctor there, and all the women were, well, I don't know, Bonnie, you tell her.
No, you're right. I mean, he was called on. I mean, he was the community doctor. His office was on the property, and he did a lot of virginity checks. If it was thought that someone had sex outside of marriage, they would be taken to him, and the women who would take the woman to be checked would watch, while he examined her to see if she was a virgin. And yeah, a lot of pain, a lot of like physical pain, a lot of psychological pain. um but that's just one way that they broke people. They broke people in a lot of ways. And so the sexual abuse, people ask all the time, like, did that happen? Yes, it happened. It happened at the Community of Jesus. It happened at Grenville Christian College. Beth, I think, probably can speak to that. um that was one thing, but for whatever reason, like, we kind of get stuck there. There are so many other forms of abuse that broke people, in really every possible way.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have gone there. I apologize.
I don't apologize. I think it's important.
Yeah.
Is he still a doctor there?
Well, he died several years ago.
Are they continuing those practices as of now?
There are, I think, 4 nurses there. Rock Harbor Health. And at least, I think a couple of them are nurse practitioners. The others are not. And the thing is, like, I think I love Sister Marianne, I love Sister Virginia, but I would never encourage anybody to go there.
Their businesses in that location, but outside, correct? I mean, as a public can go see Rock Harbor Health.
Rock Harbor Health is open to the public.
Right.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is,
Don't go.
Yeah. Are the people that work in that facility, are they members of the community?
Yes. Yeah.
down in that same general area, maybe not the same general area, as a dentist,
Right.
Craig,
Yeah.
C-R-A-G-G.
We went to them. Me
Nah.
too.
Nah. Yeah, I got them marked. These guys, they're marked down here. We know about them.
Well, thank you, you guys. This has been positively illuminating. And it's just so hard to believe that it seems like every aspect of life was demeaning to the members.
But can I add, it's not like we never had fun. It's, you know what I mean? We had some wonderful times. It was, I think it's kind of that kept you going, the good times.
And you felt
Helped you
special
with
because it was very important things. The choirs, the band.
I wasn't in any of those.
But the people that were, it kept them because they felt important. Chosen. Yeah. So
I was chosen to do laundry.
I have to say, I was talking to a survivor on a podcast I was recording the other day, and she said the same thing. She's like, I loved Advent because Aunt Virginia would read us a chapter from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe every night, and that was lovely. And I said that should not be a memory. That should have been so normalized that your parents, which it wasn't, were reading you a book every night. That should not be something that stands out in your mind as being like a happy memory. That's messed up. You know what I'm saying? Like the things that we say that, oh, I have this great memory. That should have been the norm, not the exception. But it was the exception. And yes, I have some happy memories. I remember going to the beach in my gorgeous skirted bathing suit that was made for people who had had mastectomies, because who else wore a skirted bathing suit with built-in boobs so that nobody could ever see anything? Those were fun times. Yeah, because we brought sexy back, let me tell you. But like, it just makes me so sad that we have to say that we had good times, that we have memories of good times that shouldn't have just been, that should have just been everyday life, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure if it was your book, Beth, or maybe it was Sarah Patrick's book, but in one of them, the author, maybe it was you, said it took you a while after you got out, and maybe it was you, and the court case started, to actually realize you'd been abused, because you'd been there so long that what was happening to you, you thought was normal. That's all you ever knew. And
Oh,
then
absolutely.
when you got out and you saw what normal people behave like, you realized how abused you were while you were in and didn't even know it.
I actually I was out for 6 years before Grenville closed, and all that time the truth didn't dawn. I started having troubles like with my eating disorder, it got worse and worse, which brought me to therapy, and that's when I started to learn that I had issues that were more than just an eating disorder. And then when Grenville closed and everybody started, all the abuse allegations came forward, that's when I clued in. But like you said, I joined the lawsuit with an inkling of the issues, but thinking I wasn't abused, but maybe I could help with the lawsuit. It took all the 16 years of the lawsuit for me to to come to a deeper and deeper understanding that yes, I'd been abused, uh and but like we've been saying, and like what Diane said, it takes years for you to understand layer by layer of the truth, and also to remember things, because I dissociated. We all did, to in order to survive. So you forget it. You forget some of the worst things, and you normalize the heck out of it. And yeah, it's a very slow uh, recovery, I would say.
Well, you don't have any connection to the popular culture while you're there.
Mm.
And then you come out and people are talking about things in groups. And you know, really, oh yeah, sure, whatever you say. I mean, it's just, I
Yeah.
needed a 5-year crash course on what have been,
Yeah.
I did have my own cell phone though.
You know, I do think what you should do, not you should do, but what would be great is if Netflix came and did a documentary, because they've done several on these groups, and I tell you, you get that out worldwide, and they are.
I think 60 Minutes should be invited back in.
Well, no, I don't know about 60 Minutes, but Netflix has done all these really good. What, Netflix?
I don't know who he's going to go with, but he's a very well known.
Well, Netflix does documentaries
I know.
all over the world.
Lighting.
Millions of people watch, and that's how you people get really angry about stuff like this. When they're-
When you say
No.
One of the problems with that is that they would be justifiably scared to do that with the community and its litigious um,
I'm sure they've been through this
nature.
before. No, I'm sure they have gone into all kinds of cults and have done these investigative things.
Oh yeah, I watched them all. I'm
There's
just saying that
I'm
it's
sure.
it's a very big risk. It really is.
there is one in the works, just
Mhm.
so you know. It has been purchased by a streaming network that we're not allowed to say which one. Um, but I actually have a call tomorrow with the documentary filmmaker. But it has been purchased. It is getting ready to come out. It's very focused on Aaron Bushnell. That was the original intention of the documentary, was to tell his story, and it turned into a bigger story about the community of Jesus. So as soon as we're allowed to say like when and where to watch it, we will 100% let you know, because you're absolutely right. Those big documentaries like Netflix and Paramount Plus and others, they can make a big difference.
Mhm.
That's great. That's great news.
He interviewed me, but he's not using anything from me. But I think he's mainly working with people who grew up in the community, as Aaron did.
Mm.
And I was 27 when I moved there.
Wow. That reminds me that the week that my book came out, um, somebody contacted me who had recently left the community, and they read my book right away, and they contacted me and said that it had meant the world to them, and that it gave them the courage to be filmed for this documentary that week, because they were about to be filmed and they weren't sure if they could do it. So it's just the power of like stories of all of us coming forward, and it just collectively gives people strength. So yeah, it's so exciting.
There's so much momentum right now with these efforts with uh, it's in the papers, local or larger. I mean, I think weekly now we're getting so much coverage. People are noticing, people are demanding more and accountability and change. And I mean, it's happening, and it's thanks to people like all of you, like Jeannie and her efforts, and going out there with the megaphone into the community and talking to people. And we just really appreciate, like we said, your interest, your time. Beth, your book is amazing, and I'm so honored to meet you tonight. And I look forward to more encounters. And Jeannie, can't thank you enough for
Mhm.
everything. And Sean again had to step away. He didn't want to interrupt because you all were in the middle of conversation, but he also wants to express his gratitude and appreciation. And you're just amazing, an amazing group, and we're fortunate to have you all cheering us on and part of the changing tides and the shift. So thank you.
So if
Thank
these
you.
guys sign up on these things and they put their email, then they will get daily, weekly updates of what's going on.
Yeah, right now, Bonnie's created an amazing newsletter. It's short and sweet, but it's great updates that's going out monthly. If people, I don't know if anybody's on social media, if people are interested, our Facebook page is very informative and very active, and that's a great way to get information as well. And Bonnie, I'll let you chime in about other ways, but I think, and definitely check out the website for sure. rockharbortruth.com. We are in the middle of changing our website over. We're so excited that we just received our nonprofit status. So we will be shifting to rockharbortruth.org, but we're in the very early stages of this big transition to a nonprofit, which is really exciting. So I don't know, Bonnie, if you want to add other ways people can stay abreast of of all the hard work and great work we're doing. Of course, the podcast, right? Follow that.
Yeah, the podcast. Please follow the podcast, share the podcast. Um, there's
Bonnie, share with how many people have listened to the podcast since November when they were first put up.
The last number I saw today was almost 4,000. So it's doing really well. We'd like it to do better, but it's amazing. So that podcast is The Cult on the Cape. You can stream that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, and I think Amazon. Like Amazon has podcasts. And then yeah, like Anne said, we have a Facebook page which is Rock Harbor Truth. We also have a Facebook page for The Cult on the Cape. And then we're on Instagram, and we're also on TikTok. I, again, never listened to a podcast before, and that should tell you everything you need to know about our TikTok presence, because it's really not a thing, but I'm trying. But we would love to include you in our monthly newsletter just to keep you updated on what's going on. And there are a lot of things that are about to launch. So stand by for sure. And you can always email us. You can email us at rockharbortruth@gmail.com. When the new website's up, we'll have individual email addresses, but in the meantime, rockharbortruth@gmail.com. Yeah, if there's anything that we can do to support you guys, if you have questions, if anything, we're here. Beth, you're amazing, and truly your book, when there have been others, but when yours landed, it was just at the right time. And thank you for sharing so vulnerably your story. It's amazing.
Thank you. So exciting to be together with you guys. So, yay.
Thank you.
Thank
Well,
you
I have
so
to go to
much,
choir,
everybody.
so it's great to meet you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
Beth.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
I did one of the podcasts, but I don't know when it's gonna be.
Oh, good. Oh,
Yeah.
good. Look forward to hearing.